Hello friends, welcome to Premier UPSC IAS. Now we are going to start with Indian geography. This is the part 1 of Indian geography. In the previous lectures, we have covered the world geography into 4 parts. So let's dive into the direct topics of Indian geography. India is the seventh largest country in the world. Its mainland extends from Kashmir in the north to Kanyakumari in the south and Arunachal Pradesh in the east to the Gujarat in the west. India's territorial limit further extends towards the sea up to 12 nautical miles, about 21.9 kilometers from the coast. The country covers an area of about 32 lakhs 80,000 square kilometers. The total length of the coastline is 7,517 kilometers. Its mainland extends between 8 degree 4 minutes and 37 degree 6 minutes north latitude and 68 degrees 7 minutes and 97 degree 25 minute east longitudes. Due to the great longitudinal extent of about 29 degree, there could be a wide difference in local time of places located at two extreme points in India. The sun rises about 2 hours earlier in the east Arunachal Pradesh and then in the west Gujarat. The local time of longitude of 82 degree 30 minutes east has been taken as the Indian Standard Time. Indian Standard Time is ahead of Greenwich Mean Time by 5 hours and 30 minutes. The Tropic of Cancer, that is 23 degree 30 minutes north, splits India into almost two halves. The Indian Peninsula southwards results in the division of the Indian Ocean into two water bodies, the Bay of Bengal in the east and the Arabian Sea in the west. The size of India has enriched her with great physical diversity. Its neighbors. West. Its western border line of control with Pakistan extends up to 3,323 kilometers, separated by Ratcliffe Line. Northwest. India shares a 106-kilometer border with Afghanistan in northwestern Kashmir, which the Indian government officially regards as Pakistan-occupied Kashmir (POK) region. East. India's border with Bangladesh runs 4,096 kilometers. The border with Myanmar extends up to 1,643 kilometers. Northeast. The line of actual control is the effective border between the line between India and the People's Republic of China, and it traverses 4,057 kilometers. Bhutan is a landlocked country making 699-kilometer long border with India in the northeast. The border with Nepal runs 1751 kilometers along the foothills of the Himalayas. South. Sri Lanka is southeast and Maldives in southwest are two neighboring with water borders. Indian physiography. Physical division of India. Based on the variations in its geological structure and formations, India can be divided into three geological divisions: the Peninsular Block, the Himalayas and other peninsular mountains, Indo-Ganga-Brahmaputra Plain. These geological regions broadly follow the physical features of Indian, and it can be divided into six physiographic regions. The Himalayas, young fold mountains. 2. The Indo-Gangetic Plain, monotonous or featureless topography. 3. The Peninsular Plateau, one of the most stable land masses and one of the oldest plateaus of the world. 4. The Coastal Plains, sediments formed due to fluvial action. 5. The Indian Islands, coral reef built up on atolls, Lakshadweep, tectonic interaction between India Plate and Eurasian Plate, Andaman and Nicobar Islands. 6. The Indian Desert. Himalayan mountain system. The Himalayan ranges. The Himalayas represent the loftiest and one of the most rugged mountain barriers of the world. They form an arc which covers a distance of about 2,400 kilometers. They are series of several parallel or converging ranges. The ranges are separated by deep valleys, generating a highly dissected topography. They are series of several parallel or converging ranges. The ranges are separated by deep valleys, generating a highly dissected topography. The altitudinal variations are greater in the eastern half than those in the western half. The general orientation of these ranges is from northwest to the southeast direction in the northwestern part of India. The southern slopes have steep gradients and northern slopes have relatively gentler slopes. Majority of the Himalayan ranges fall in India, Nepal and Bhutan. The Himalayas are not only the physical barrier but they are also a climatic drainage and cultural divide. On the basis of relief, alignment of ranges, and other geomorphological features, the Himalayas can be divided into different sections. Division from north to south, longitudinal. There are three main parallel ranges of Himalaya from north to south: Himadri or Great or Inner Himalayas, Himachal or Middle or Lesser Himalayas, and Shivaliks or Outer Himalayas. Greater or Inner Himalayas, Himadri. The northernmost range is known as the Great or Inner Himalayas or the Himadri. It is the most continuous range consisting of the loftiest peaks with an average height of 6,000 meters. It contains all the prominent Himalayan peaks. For example, one in the Nanga Parbat in the northwest and the other in the Namcha Barwa in the northeast. The core of this part of the Himalaya is composed of granite. A number of valleys lie between these ranges. It is perennially snowbound and a number of glaciers descend from this range. Its average altitude is of 6,100 meters above sea level and an average width of about 525 kilometers. There are many important passes for trade and transport in this range. For example, an important trade route connecting Kalimpong near Darjeeling with Lhasa in Tibet passes through Jalepla state and passes of the Great Himalayas, Jammu and Kashmir, Banihal Pass, Changla, Khardungla, Pirpanjal Pass, Burzil Pass, Zojila and Aghil Pass, Himachal Pradesh, Baralachala, Shipkila, Rohtang Pass, Depsa Pass, Uttarakhand, Niti Pass, Lipu Lake, Mana Pass, Muling Pass and Mangsha Dhuram, Sikkim, Nathula and Jalepla, Arunachal Pradesh, Dihang Pass, Viphu Pass, Chankan Pass, Bomdila Pass, Lekhapani Pass and Pangsangla. Middle or the Lesser Himalaya or Himachal. The range lying to the south of the Himadri and forms the most rugged mountain system. The ranges are mainly composed of highly compressed and altered rocks. The altitude varies between 3,700 and 4,500 meters and the average width is of 50 kilometers. The Pir Panjal range forms the longest and the most important range. This range consists of the famous valley of Kashmir, the Kangra and Kulu Valley in Himachal Pradesh. This region is well known for its hill stations, the attraction of tourism because the majority of the Himalayan hill resorts like Shimla, Mussoorie, Ranikhet, Nainital, Almora, Darjeeling, etc. are located here. Important ranges of Lesser Himalayas: the Pir Panjal range in Jammu and Kashmir, Dhauladhar range in Himachal Pradesh, Mussoorie range in Uttarakhand, Nagtibba range in Uttarakhand and Mahabharat range in Nepal. Outer Himalayas or Shivalik. It is located between the Great Plains and the Lesser Himalayas. Shivalik runs from the Potwar Plateau to the Brahmaputra Valley. They are an almost unbroken chain of low hills. They extend over a width of 10 to 50 kilometers and have an altitude varying between 900 to 1100 meters. These ranges are composed of unconsolidated sediments, gravels, and conglomerate deposits brought down by rivers from the main Himalayan ranges located farther north. These deposits were folded and hardened due to compression offered by the northward movement of the Indian plate. When the rivers were able to cut their courses through the lakes filled with conglomerate deposits, the lakes were drained away, leaving behind plains called dunes in the west and duars in the east. Hence, the longitudinal valley lying between the Lesser Himalaya and the Shivaliks are known as dunes. Dehradun, Kotli Dune, Patli Dune are some of the well-known dunes. Different names of the Shivaliks in different areas. In the Jammu region, Jammu Hills, Arunachal Pradesh, Dafla, Miri, Abor and Mishmi Hills, Uttarakhand, Dhang Range and Dundwa Range. In Nepal, it is Churia Ghat Hills. Division from west to east, regional. Kashmir or northwestern Himalayas, Himachal and Uttaranchal Himalayas, Darjeeling and Sikkim Himalayas, Arunachal Himalayas, and eastern hills and mountains. These divisions have been demarcated by river valleys. Indus and the Brahmaputra mark the easternmost and the westernmost boundary of the Himalayas, respectively. Kashmir or the northwestern Himalayas. This region is drained by the river Indus and its tributaries such as the Jhelum and the Chenab. It comprises a series of ranges such as the Karakoram, Ladakh, Zanskar, and Pir Panjal. The Kashmir Himalayas are also famous for Karewa formations, which are useful for the cultivation of zafran, a local variety of saffron. Karevas are the thick deposits of glacial clay and other materials embedded with moraines. Some of the important passes of the region are the following: Zojila on the Great Himalayas, Banihal on the Pir Panjal, Hotula on Zanskar, and Khardungla on the Ladakh range. Some of the important fresh lakes such as Dal and Vular and saltwater lakes such as Pangong So and So Muriri are also in this region. The southernmost part of this region consists of longitudinal valleys known as dunes. Jammu Dun and Pathankot Dun are important examples. Himachal and Uttaranchal Himalayas. So the Himachal and the Uttaranchal Himalayas. This part lies approximately between the Ravi in the west and the Kali in the east. It is drained by the two major river systems of India, the Indus and the Ganga. The region is also known as have a five famous prayags, that is river confluences. The northernmost part of the Himachal Himalayas is an extension of the Ladakh cool desert which lies in the Spiti subdivision of the district Lahaul and Spiti. All three ranges of Himalayas, Greater, Lesser and Shivalik are prominent in this section also. The Lesser Himalayas is locally known as Dhauladar in Himachal Pradesh and Nagtiba in Uttarakhand. In this section of Lesser Himalayas, the altitude between the 1000 to 2000 meters especially attracted to the British colonial administration. Subsequently, some of the important hill stations such as the Dharmashala, Mussoorie, Shimla, Kausani, etc. were developed in this region. The cantonment towns and the health resorts such as Shimla, Mussoorie, Kasauli, Almora, Lansdowne, Ranikhet, etc. were also developed. The two distinguishing features of this region from the point of view of the physiography are the following: Shivalik and dune formation. Some important dunes located in this region are the Chandigarh Kalka Dune, Nalagarh Dune, Dehradun, Harike Dune, and Kota Dune, etc. Dehradun is the largest of all the dunes. In the Great Himalayan range, the valleys are mostly inhabited by the Bhotias. These are nomadic groups who migrate to Bugyals during summer months and return to the valleys during winters. Bugyals are summer grasslands in the higher reaches of Himalayas. The famous Valley of Flowers is also situated in this region. Places of pilgrimage such as the Gangotri, Yamunotri, Kedarnath, Badrinath, and Hemkund Sahib are also situated in this part. Darjeeling and the Sikkim Himalayas. They are flanked by the Nepal Himalayas in the west and the Bhutan Himalayas in the east. It is relatively small but the most significant part of the Himalayas, known for its fast flowing rivers such as Teesta. It is a region of high mountain peaks like Kanchenjunga and deep valleys. The higher reaches of this region are inhabited by Lepcha tribes, while the southern part has a mixed population of Nepalis, Bengalis, the tribals from the central India. The British introduced tea plantations in this region. It was possible because of the advantages of the physical conditions such as moderate slope, thick soil cover with high organic content, well-distributed rainfall throughout the year, and mild winters. In place of the shivaliks here, the duar formations are important, which have also been used for the development of tea gardens. Arunachal Himalayas. These extend from the east of the Bhutan Himalayas up to the Dhipu Pass in the east. Some of the important mountain peaks of the region are Kangtu and Namcha Barwa. These ranges are dissected by fast flowing rivers from the north to the south, forming deep gorges. Some of the important rivers are Kameng, Subhansini, the Dihang, the Dibang, and the Lohit. These are the perennial with the high rate of fall, thus having the highest hydroelectric power potential in the country. An important aspect of the Arunachal Himalayas is the numerous ethnic tribal community inhabiting in these areas. Some of the most important prominent ones from west to east are Monpa, Abor, Mishmi, Nishi and the Nagas. This region is rich in biodiversity. Eastern Hill and Mountains. These are part of the Himalayan mountain system, having their general alignment from the north to the south direction. They are known by different local names. In the north, they are known as Patkaibam, Naga Hills, and the Manipur Hills. In the south, it is known as Mizo or the Lushai Hills. These are low hills, inhabited by numerous tribal groups practicing jhum cultivation. Most of these ranges are separated from each other by numerous small rivers. Some highest peaks of the Himalayas. Kanchenjunga In India, Kanchenjunga, Nanga Parbat, Nanda Devi, Kamet, and Namcha Barwa. In Nepal, Mount Everest, Maklu, Dhaulagiri, Annapurna, and Gulla Mandhata. The Trans-Himalayas. These ranges lie immediately to the north of the Great Himalayan Range. It is also called the Tibetan Himalaya because most of it lies in Tibet. Its average altitude is 5,800 meter above the mean sea level. It stretches for a distance of about 1,000 km in the east-west direction. The Zaskar, the Ladakh, the Kailash, and the Karakoram are the main ranges lies in the Trans-Himalayas. Syntaxial belts of the Himalayas. It extends in the west-east direction from the Indus Gorge in the west to the Brahmaputra Gorge in the east. It ranges take sharp southwest bends at these gorges. These bends are called syntaxial belts of the Himalayas. The western syntaxial bend arises near the Nanga Parbat and the eastern syntaxial bend arises near the Namcha Barwa. At the Dihang Gorge, the Himalayas take a sudden southward bend and form a chain of comparatively low hills which are collectively called as Purvanchal. These ranges run along the India-Myanmar border extending from Arunachal Pradesh in the north to Mizoram in the south. For example, Patkai Bum Hills, Naga Hills, Manipur Hills, Jaintia, Khasi and Garo Hills and Mizo Hills. The northern plains, Indo-Gangetic Brahmaputra plains. The northern plains are formed by the alluvial deposits brought by the rivers, the Indus, the Ganga, the Brahmaputra and the tributaries. The Indo-Gangetic Brahmaputra plain is the largest alluvial tract of the world. It extended for about 3,200 km from the mouth of the Indus to the mouth of the Ganga. The plain accounts for 2,400 square kilometer. The deposition of the aluminium in a vast basin lying at the foothills of the Himalaya over millions of years formed this fertile plain. The rivers coming from the northern mountains are involved in the depositional work. In the lower course, due to the gentle slope, the velocity of the river decreases, which results in the formation of riverine islands. The boundary is bordered by the Shivaliks in the north, and the southern boundary is a wavy, irregular line along the northern edge of the peninsular India. The western boundary is marked by Suleiman and Kirta ranges, and the eastern boundary is bordered by Purvanchal hills. With a rich soil cover combined with an adequate water supply and a favorable climate, it is agriculturally very productive part of India. The northern plain is broadly divided into three sections such as the western part of the northern plain is referred to as the Punjab plains formed by the Indus and its tributaries. The largest part of this plain lies in Pakistan. This section of the plain is dominated by the Doab. The Ganga plain extends between the Ghaggar and Teesta rivers. It is spread over the states of North India, Haryana, Delhi, UP, Bihar, partly Jharkhand and West Bengal. To the east of Ganga plain, particularly in the Assam, lies the Brahmaputra plain. The northern plains are generally described as flat land with no variations in its relief. It is not true. These vast plains also have diverse relief features. According to the variations in relief features, the northern plains can be divided into four regions. From the north to the south, this can be divided into three major zones: the Bhabar, the Tarai, and the alluvial plains. The alluvial plains can be further divided into Bhangar and Khadar. Bhabar. It is a narrow, permeable northernmost stretch of the Indo-Gangetic Plain. It is about 8 to 16 km wide, running in an east-west direction along the foothills alluvial fans of the Shivaliks. The streams and rivers coming from the mountains deposit heavy materials of rocks and boulders disappear in this zone. Therefore, the area is marked by dry river courses during summer, not in the rainy season. The area is not fit for agriculture and only big trees with large roots thrive in this belt. Tarai. It is an ill-drained, damp, marshy and thickly forested narrow tract to the south of Bhabbar running parallel to it. The Tarai region is about 15 to 30 km wide. Most of the streams and rivers re-emerge without having any properly demarcated channel, thereby creating marshy and swampy conditions in this belt. It accounts for a higher amount of rainfall than Bhabbar. It consists of the thickly forested region that provides shelter to a variety of wildlife. The alluvial plains, Bhangar and Khadar. The south of Tarai is a belt consisting of old and new alluvial deposits known as the Bhangar and Khadar respectively. The old being the Bhangar and the new being the Khadar. These plains have characteristic features of the mature stage of fluvial, erosional and depositional landforms such as sandbars, meanders, oxbow lakes and braided channels. Most of these areas are subjected to periodic floods and shifting river courses forming braided streams. The largest part of the northern plain is formed of older alluvium called Bhangar. The soil in this region contains calcareous deposits locally known as Kankar. The newer younger deposits of the floodplains are called Khadar. They are renewed almost every year. Therefore, it is fertile, thus ideal for intensive agriculture. The Peninsula Plateau. Features of the Peninsula Plateau. The Peninsula Plateau is a tableland composed of the old crystalline, igneous, and metamorphic rocks. It was formed due to the breaking and drifting of the Gondwana land and thus making it a part of the oldest landmass. This peninsular plateau has undergone recurrent phases of upliftment and submergence accompanied by the crustal faulting and fractures. The plateau has broad and shallow valleys and rounded hills. One of the distinct features of the peninsular plateau is the black soil area known as the Deccan Trap. This is a volcanic origin, hence the rocks are igneous. Actually, these rocks have denuded over time and are responsible for the formation of black soil. Peninsular India is made up of a series of peatland plateaus such as the Hazaribagh Plateau, the Palamu Plateau, the Ranchi Plateau, the Malwa Plateau, Coimbatore Plateau, and the Karnataka Plateau, etc. It extends between the following: Delhi Ridge in the northwest, the Rajmahal Hills in the east, Gir Range in the west, and the Cardamom Hills in the south. Aravalli Hills lie on the western and the northwestern margins of the Peninsula Plateau. These are highly eroded hills and are found as broken hills. They extend from Gujarat to Delhi in a southwest-northeast direction. Division of the Peninsula Plateau. The important physiographic features of this region are fjords, block mountains, rift valley, spurs, bare rocky structures, series of hummocky hills, and a wall-like quartzite dikes offering natural sites for water storage. On the basis of the relief features, this plateau can be divided into three groups: the Deccan Plateau, the Central Highlands, Northeastern Plateau. The Deccan Plateau is a triangular landmass that lies to the south of the river Narmada. This plateau is bordered by the following: Western Ghats in the west, Eastern Ghats in the east, and the Satpura, Michael Range, and Mahadeo Hills in the north. The Deccan Plateau is higher in the west and slopes gently towards eastwards. Western Ghats. The Western Ghats are continuous and can be crossed through passes only. The Western Ghats are higher than the Eastern Ghats. Their average elevation is 900 to 1600 meters as against 1600 meters of the Eastern Ghats. The Western Ghats cause orographic rain by facing the rain bearing moist winds to rise along the western slope of the Ghats. The height of the Western Ghats progressively increases from north to south. The Western Ghats are locally known by different names such as Sahyadri in Maharashtra, Nilgiri in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, and Annamalai Hills and Cardamom Hills in Kerala. The highest peaks include Anaimudi of 2695 meters and Dodabetta of 2637 meters. Most of the peninsular rivers have their origin in the Western Ghats. The Eastern Ghats and Western Ghats meet each other at the Nilgiri Hills. Eastern Ghats. The Eastern Ghats stretch from the Mahanadi Valley to the Nilgiris in the south. The Eastern Ghats are discontinuous and irregular and dissected by rivers draining into the Bay of Bengal. Some important ranges in the Eastern Ghats include Javadi Hills, Chevroi, Palkonda Range, and Nallamalla Hills. Mahendragiri, 1501 meters, is the highest peak in the Eastern Ghats. Central Highland, the part of the peninsular plateau lying to the north of the Narmada River, covering a major area of Malwa Plateau, is known as the Central Highlands. The Vindhya Range. The Vindhya Range is bounded by the Central Highlands on the south and the Aravallis on the northwest. The further westernward extension gradually merges with the sandy and rocky desert of Rajasthan. An extension towards the Rajmahal Hills is in the east. Flow of the rivers draining in this region, namely the Chambal, the Sindh, the Betwa, and the Kane, is from southwest to northeast, thus indicating the slope. The central highlands are wider in the west but narrower in the east. The eastward extensions of this plateau are locally known as Bundelkhand and Banghelkhand. The Chotanagpur Plateau marks the further eastward extension drained by the Damodar River. Northeastern Plateau. An extension of the northern plateau is also visible in the northeast, locally known as the Meghalaya Karbi Anglong Plateau and North Kachar Hills. It is separated by a fault from the Chotanagpur Plateau. The force exerted by the northeastern movement of the Indian plate at the time of the Himalayan origin, a huge fault was generated between the Rajmahal Hills and the Meghalaya Plateau. Aftermath, this depression got filled up by the deposition activity of the numerous rivers. At present, Meghalaya and Karbi Anglong Plateau stand detached from the main peninsular block. The Meghalaya Plateau is subdivided into the following three hills located from west to east: the Garo Hills, the Khasi Hills, and the Jaintia Hills. An extension of this also seen in the Karbi Anglong Hills of Assam. Similar to the Chotanagpur Plateau, the Meghalaya Plateau is also rich in mineral resources like coal, iron ore, sillimanite, limestone, and uranium. This area receives maximum rainfall from the southwest monsoon. As a result, the Meghalaya Plateau has a highly eroded surface. Cherrapunchi displays a bare rocky surface devoid of any permanent vegetarian cover. Indian Desert. The Indian Desert lies to the northwest of the Aravalli Hills. It is an undulating topography with longitudinal dunes and barchans. It has an arid climate with low vegetation, mainly due to low rainfall. It is also known as Marusthali because due to the above characteristic features. Most of the rivers are ephemeral, lasting for a very short time. Luni is the only large river in this region. Water deficit because due to low precipitation and high evaporation in this region. On the basis of the orientation, desert can be divided into two parts. The northern part is sloping towards Sindh and the southern part towards the Rann of Kutch. The coastal plains. The coastal plains, the peninsula plateau is flanked by the stretch of narrow coastal strips running along the Arabian Sea on the west and the Bay of Bengal on the east. Western coast. The western coast, sandwiched between the Western Ghats and the Arabian Sea, is a narrow plain. Extending from the Gujarat coast in the north to the Kerala coast in the south, the west coast may be divided into the following divisions: Kutch and Kathiawar coast in Gujarat, Konkan coast in Maharashtra, Goan coast in Karnataka, and Malabar coast in Kerala. The western coastal plains are an example of the submerged coastal plain. The western coastal plains are narrow in the middle and get broader towards the north and south. The rivers flowing through this coastal plain do not form any delta. Because of this submergence, it is a narrow belt and provides natural conditions for the development of ports and harbors. For example, Kandla, Mazagaon, Jhelum Port, Nhava Sheva, Marmagao, Mangalore, and Cochin, etc. Kayal. The Malabar coast has got certain distinguishing features in the form of backwaters, which is called kayals. They are used for fishing, inland navigation, and also due to its special attraction for tourists. Every year, the famous Nehru Trophy Vallamkali boat race is held in the Punnamada Kayal in the Kerala. Eastern coast. The plains along the Bay of Bengal are wide and level. As compared to the western coastal plain, the eastern coastal plain is broader and is an example of an emergent coast. In the northern part, it is referred to as the northern Sirkar, while the southern part is known as the Coromandel coast. Large rivers such as the Mahanadi, Godavari, the Krishna, and the Kaveri have formed extensive delta on this coast. Lake Chilika is an important feature along the eastern coast. There are well developed deltas here formed by the rivers flowing eastward into the Bay of Bengal. Because of its emergent nature, it has less number of ports and harbors. The continental shelf extends up to 500 kilometers into the sea, which makes it difficult for the development of good ports and harbors. The islands. The islands in the Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea. In the Bay of Bengal, island groups consist of about 572 islands or islets. The two principal groups of islets include Ritchie's Archipelago and the Labyrinth Island. The entire group of islands is divided into two broad categories: the Andaman in the north and the Nicobar in the south. The islands of the Arabian Sea include Lakshadweep and Minicoy. Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Both are separated by a water body which is called the 10-degree channel. It receives convectional rainfall and has an equatorial type of vegetation. Elevated portion of the submarine mountains. Barren Island is the only active volcano in India and is situated in the Nicobar Islands. New names of the islands: Ross Island, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose Island; Neil Island, Shahadweep, Shahid Dweep Island, Havelock Island, Swaraj Dweep Islands. Lakshadweep. Its entire island group is built of coral deposits. 11th degree channel north of which is the Amini Island and the south of the Cananore Island. Minicoy is the largest island with an area of 453 square kilometer. The islands of this archipelago have storm beaches consisting of unsolidated pebbles, shingles, cobbles, and boulders on the eastern seaboard.